Welcome to The Purpose Effect, the space where we get honest, we get intentional, and we get aligned with the life God designed for us. I'm Alesha, your host on Mondays. My co-host David is on Wednesdays, and Friday we do it together. Our mission is simple: to help you stop floating through life and to start living with purpose, clarity, and action. And you guys, I will tell you today, I have such an awesome guest. I'm so excited to have him on here because I'll share stories as we go throughout this conversation. But I've had some personal experiences with him, and so have my kids. And they have been hugely impacted by him. And so it is just such a great honor to have him on here. Not only that, but he is a local to my area, which is even more exciting. So I've gotten to see him in the classrooms and all of that. But you guys probably know him from something else, from an amazing movie that sort of came out of the blue. And for a lot of us, it's a cult following called Napoleon Dynamite. And, but not only is he done that, he helped produce that, but he is also an author. And we'll talk about some of the kids' books he's written. And again, I have quite a few copies in my house. He's an educator. He does lots of keynote speaking, and he's also just living life with purpose. And you will see that in the conversation that we have here today. You guys, let me welcome my amazing friend, Sean Covel. And I am so excited to have you here, Sean. How
I'm
are
excited
you?
to be here. Thank you, Alesha. Thank you. I was so excited to hear that you've got this podcast going. I've seen you do such amazing things on the school board and around our community. So I'm really honored to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. I just appreciate you being on here. And so let's start with it going deep already. I'm like, let's just go deep and talk about purpose.
Okay, let's do it.
So, with that being said, can you tell me at what point in your life did you go, okay, this is my purpose, and you've been just walking it out, inspiring people?
I don't know that time has come. I don't know that it's true. I don't know that I could write down what my purpose is. I can write down what my values are, barely. I can sketch them out. And those values shifted. I grew up in a small town near here, Edgemont, which is about 500 people, and then chased my dream of making movies by going to undergrad in Nebraska, where they don't make movies. But to me, it was a big deal because they had pizza delivery and stoplights. I was in Kearney, Nebraska. This is the heavy hitters. And that was a really big transitional time. But that whole time was really self-focused. I want to do this. I want to do this. Got out of undergrad, and I knew that to make movies, I had to move to California. So I sold my car for the money to rent a U-Haul, and I threw a motorcycle and a mattress in the back of it and drove to San Francisco, where they don't make movies. They make about as many movies as they do in Kearney, Nebraska and San Francisco, but I didn't know that. And I was dead broke. And I would have turned around and come home, but I didn't have enough money to. And that was a really amazing experience where I made incredible friends. I got involved in the tech movement as a headhunter, and they helped me put the words together for my dream, not my purpose, but my dream. And that was to make movies. Went to LA to do that for 15 years. And again, it was very kind of self-focused. And it was fun. And it was fun to tell stories. And it was amazing to get the experiences of making these movies. But Los Angeles, this isn't a pejorative, it's a fact, is a very selfish town, which doesn't mean they're going to take things from you. It means that people have left their lives in freaking South Dakota to go find their path in Hollywood. Along the way, I started to notice that people who were most successful, who had the biggest houses, also had the biggest front yards and also had the biggest walls around them. And if you think about the icons of Hollywood, they would be movie stars, right? They can't go out in public. And so their lives get smaller and smaller. And I realized that quality of life is what I was chasing, whether in wine and wealth. And when I got there and spent about a decade in it, I realized that quality of life might be that. But for me, quality in life is people and community. And being in a town where I can get a text saying, we're having a barbecue in 20 minutes, come, or let's meet over at like in Los Angeles, you schedule the friend 2 weeks out and then you reschedule twice. Here, it's just connected. I run into people at the grocery store and at the post office. And so, to make a short story very long, that was community and closeness appeared as one of my values, not because I said it was, but because I did something and looked back and said, oh, this is resonating. And that's the story of everything that I've done. I learned my value by looking back at them, and that might combine to be a purpose, but I don't yet see it.
But I think what's powerful in that is sometimes in order to find our purpose, we have to get uncomfortable. Like we have to push into things like moving out to California from little South Dakota. You had to lean into being like, okay, I got to stretch myself. And I think it's powerful when you talk about that because as you experience life and as you begin to try things out, go, okay, wait, ooh, I don't want this. Ooh, I like this. I connect with this. That is how part of our purpose, how we become
Mhm.
aware of our purpose, right? Is by
Mhm.
trying new things. Because I think oftentimes people, they like to be comfortable. They like
Yeah,
to just sit and go, oh, I don't know. I don't want to try that. I don't
right.
want to move. I don't want to do anything different. And so you have to be willing to
I
push.
agree. You do. And I think that also it's you have to hit the right mentors at the right time. And I did. People will nudge you in the right direction or give you a framework. I remember when I was in Nebraska, I got a job selling radio ads. And I liked it because I was in the theater program and I could grab all my weirdo theater friends and we could go write these crazy ads that would be broadcast across cornfields all along the middle. And it was really fun. And one of the clients that I had, he was a real estate guy. And they offered me a full-time gig at the station in sales and it was going to pay me like $35,000, which was much, much more than my mom made as a school teacher here. And I felt this guilt about the idea. And I said to this client, just speaking honestly with him, I said, "What? I don't know what to do about this because I could take this thing and the thing and the thing." And he said, "I've faced that." He had a very successful real estate firm. He says, "I know what that is." And I thought about it. And when I look back at my great grandfather who moved from another country to this country, he increased the quality of life for his family by this much.
Mm.
And then the next generation increased the quality of life for our family by the same amount. My father by the same amount. What do I have to do to increase the quality of my life for my future family the same amount as the guy who moved from another country? He says, I have an obligation to do that. And that freed me up to then go after those experiences. And one of my professors there said, you can be poor anywhere because that's the real thing people push against. Oh, but it's so expensive. It's like, you can be poor anywhere. Poor is universal. So that freed that up. And along the way, I had a teacher who said, it was funny. It was in, is this long and blithering, by the way? I think I'm
No,
doing
it's
the thing.
perfect. No, it's great.
Okay.
Keep going. I'm loving it. I'll interrupt
Okay,
if I
cool.
need to. I'm loving this.
Okay, it's your podcast. I don't want to hog the whole thing. This was actually in Edgemont. It was in fourth grade, and we had a substitute teacher. His name was Chuck Littell. And Chuck was primarily a railroader who, I guess, took some time off. And looking back, because now I teach at the University of Southern California, I can look at what he was doing at that time. And what he was doing was just burning class time because he had no idea what to talk about. So what he did was he sat on the teacher's desk and he went around the room and he knew us because he's from the community and said to each one of us, when I see you as this, I see you as this, and going through, you're going to be a rancher, and I see you. And then he got to me and he said, I see you as an adventurer, that you go off on these crazy adventures around the world, and then you come back and you tell the stories of the adventure that you went on. And I was like, oh, I'm going to wear khakis and a safari hat and go hang out with elephants. But what really happened was he gave me permission to be a storyteller. And that kind of put me on my path.
Oh my goodness. I think sometimes I know this, we need outside people to look in to pour into us.
Yeah.
We need those people to say, and not only that, but we also get to be those people for others. And like I would assume I know along the way, you've done the same thing. And not to, this probably isn't the best time, but I do actually want to bring this up because I do think this does pertain a little bit to what we're talking about, which I'm jumping way ahead. But it's so you and I talked before we hopped on this podcast about this book that you came out with. Who is the super ultra mega special super special guest? And I had the privilege of being at my kids' school when this book came out. And I remember my son, just to give a little background, he is now in fourth grade, but at that time, I think he was second grade, and maybe it was even first, I can't remember, but he has really severe dyslexia. Like cannot reading is very challenging for him. And so anytime that we would read a book, he wouldn't necessarily want to do it and he would get really frustrated. And I got this copy of this book and took it home to him and he read it over and over again. Not me, he did.
Oh, I love that.
Loved
I
it.
love it
Like
so
it's still,
much.
I almost want to cry just think about it because it's
Yeah.
such a powerful thing. And so part of your purpose is inspiring other kids and other people to dream big. Like
Thank you
you
so much.
just talked about of this guy in fourth grade that inspired you, you're doing the same.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me that you would say so. I think I'm gonna cry. I think that maybe
You can't
that's
cry on here.
no crying.
Yeah, maybe we can.
I think I hope that maybe that's an effect, but it's not the driving force.
Mm,
Looking back at the things that are important to me, my values, one of them is togetherness around play. So that book that you're talking about is a game. It
mm.
just looks like a book, but it's a choose your own adventure. And so that, and together means that a big reads with a little. So you play it together in as much as your kiddo reads it. I bet you guys went through it together
We
a
did.
lot.
Oh, we yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Yeah. So that it's a game that's a book and a book that's a game. And Hoarder the Hoarder, which was my first series that I did, we built something similar, which was a game that parents played at home. And we ended up giving out about 60,000 copies of that book through United Way and Family Engagement Center. It was the most successful reading and family engagement project in South Dakota history.
Oh,
But it came back to that value of play and togetherness. And the second thing that I love to do is to create a mirror. That's what I want my life to be about. Yeah.
but and I think what I would say to you is that is what you've been doing. Like maybe you didn't even know it, but you have been doing that. Like I do look at the impact that you've had for so many of us. And when I look at, so this book, so as you talked about it, it's a game, but at the end, the special guest, it is literally a mirror. And you get to realize that you are that special guest. And when I look too, you talked about, so if we go back to your initial story in San Francisco and Los Angeles and the walls, and how that journey made you realize the part of community and connection.
Yeah.
Now you're creating books that are helping to inspire families to do the same thing. And
Absolutely.
like how these, so oftentimes we forget that our experiences help shape us into the purpose that we're meant to follow. And even though they maybe are pain, I would assume that there were times when you were out in California when it was very uncomfortable and painful, and you're like, "Why did I do this?" Or it was very
At first,
challenging.
yeah, when I first went there. Yeah, absolutely. And you have to learn to say yes. And that's the
Mm,
tricky part. When you run into those moments, just say yes. And we have a phrase in Hollywood, and I don't know if everybody else says it, but we say, do it for the plot. You'll come into a situation and be like, oh, this is scary. I got to do it for the plot. We just got to see what happens next. And that frees you up and it becomes part of the story. Yeah. And I think coming back to that mirror point for just a quick second, that is a thing that I learned along the way. To Napoleon taught me a lot of things, but two, one was how to make something on my own. We got turned down by every studio in town. They said the script was unreadable, and they literally said they couldn't imagine watching John for 90 minutes on a screen. And so we wanted to make it, they just wouldn't let us. So we had to figure out how to make it on our own. So that skill has translated into building all the stuff that I built. But the second was, if you saw a picture of me in middle school, I was 6'2". I wrestled the 130-pound weight class in high school, and I had a perm, and I'm a redhead, and I wore glasses and had braces. Like, it is disturbing the similarities between those characters, and it's entirely coincidental. So we saw Napoleon blow up because people felt like Napoleon, that they'd been an outsider, but has that. And that's the first time I glimpsed the idea of creating something that lets people see themselves. The book Super Ultra is literal, but I'm doing a new one called Silent Go the Animals for the deaf. And in and so I just want to let kiddos, there's three, diversity, equity, and inclusion has three prongs to it. And one is showing a kiddo themselves, and another is showing other people a group that they might not know. And the third is silently creating the middle ground where they're all comfortable being together. And so that's why Super Ultra doesn't have any human characters. It's all
yeah.
animals. Yeah. So people can see themselves.
I love it. You're really taking your experiences and inspiring others to dig deep,
Hope so.
to create a level of awareness that I think will have continue to have massive ripple effects. And okay, so you said that you are coming out with a new book. Can you share a little bit more about that or not really yet?
I'm coming out with a few new books. Silent Go the Animals is something I cracked. Like, it's an idea. We Porter the Hoarder, we do an event that's my favorite event of the year, where we do an American Sign Language translation YouTube event of Porter, and it's with the South Dakota School for the Deaf. And I started writing Porter books to throw weird crap in them just to see Lance have to sign it. Like, I put flatulent flying fish in the nature book just because I wanted to know what the sign would possibly be for flatulent flying fish. And it's this, that. And it's magnificent. I've always wanted to do a book centered in deaf culture, and only about, I knew the title for a long time, but only Tuesday of this week did it hit. Like, I got it. I got the plot. I know who the characters are. I know what the beats are. I know what the story is and the message, and I can bury the message. But my next book is actually.
I gotta tell you, you keep getting that. I hope you can hear me as you're going and getting the book. As you're talking about this, the deaf culture or the deaf man, I'm thinking of a sweet friend of mine that God has been working in her, and she realized, like, she's in her 50s maybe, and she's deaf, but she can speak pretty well. And so people don't understand that she's deaf, but she has learned to read lips and speak. And she does an amazing job. But she has shared with me of how isolating it is, of how alone she has felt over these years. And she wasn't even aware of it until just the last few years. And so I can't help but think of even just the adults. And so, okay, now share your book, but
Okay.
I'm going to
Okay.
connect you guys, just so you know, I'm going to connect you with her because
That's
I
good.
think she would have some powerful insight. Just
Thanks.
saying.
I appreciate that. As a person who's been a hearing person my whole life, where do I get to comment on that? So I mentioned I teach at USC, and my classes there, man, every time I get ready to teach, I have an existential crisis. These kids are amazing. I had a Fulbright scholar from Harvard who's a Navajo. I had Tara, she left her career putting together 10,000 person events for Meta and for Google. And a student of mine two students had already won Academy Awards before they came into class. And yeah, and they're all from all over the world and very different orientations in every possible way. First thing I say on day one is, okay, I support diversity, equity, and inclusion, but I see the world as a 6.5 foot white guy. So I'm not going to try to comment on your world. I'm just going to try to show you how to realize it. So this book, yeah, that book, I just want it to be a cool thing that reframes a part of the culture that I think, and you've said, can be very lonely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very powerful. And I think oftentimes it's just being aware of where other people are coming from and being sensitive to that. It's just very powerful. I come from everything from my perspective, and this is what I've experienced, and just
Yeah.
having some understanding and being able to I even talk a lot about just choosing to look at things from different perspectives. Like, even if it's not from somebody else's perspective, it's just taking a situation and going, oh my goodness, this is the worst thing ever to happen to me, or switching it, going, oh my goodness, what am I going to learn in this? How am I
Yeah.
going to grow in this? Like, how am
Yeah.
I going to be shaped into the way that I need to grow by this experience? It's really hard and really uncomfortable, but you know what? It could put me even more into other rooms that I didn't even know existed, and put me in front of people that I didn't even know I needed to be in front of, instead of just being like, wow, that was a failure, whatever. But
Yeah.
choose
And often
perspective.
you see it in hindsight. You look
Yes.
at that, oh, that's what it was. There's a stress physiologist. Her name is Rebecca Heiss, and she has a book called Springboard. And she's basically dedicated her life to studying the nature of stress. She's an elite athlete too, in the moment, and how to identify what it is. She talks about how it's not a tiger. Feels like a tiger. We're wired to think it's a tiger. It's not a tiger. And how to see it, own it, and then repurpose it and use the energy of it to do the next thing, which is, I think, a micro step of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
10 recommend. Yeah.
So,
So,
okay.
so from 80 minutes ago, yes, the next book is called Hector the Collector. It's about this cool steampunk penguin guy who goes on these crazy odysseys trying to find the greatest thing anywhere he goes. And it's also a look and find, kind of like Hoarder, where the first book we go into different rooms in the hospital. This is the gift shop. Here's the exam room.
Oh my goodness.
And we find all these hidden objects like 10 slightly pinchy feel better shots. And the kiddos find them, and then there's a reveal of what happens afterward. And this is a project I'm doing with Monument Health where they'll give away 3,000 copies of the book in November, and that will be a multi-year thing. And the goal of Hector is the same as Porter, is the same as Super Ultra, that kiddos will get excited about it in the classroom, get their own copy of it, and then get to play the game at home. And so, yeah, Hector's in the hospital for the first one. He's in the elementary school. We're doing a deal with the United Way to do the same thing for first graders, hospital second graders. And then I'll launch the franchise off of that.
Oh my
That's the
goodness.
plan, anyway.
It's so amazing. Like, I am not, my gifting is not creativity. I'm learning to be more creative. Like, I'm learning to stretch myself in that. But it's fun to see, like, you just even showing and the creativity that you have that exudes out, because that's not a natural thing for me. And so, have you had to really grow that? Did it come naturally for you, or has it just been through experiences?
I think that I was always creative, possibly because I was so bad at sports. The wrestling thing, I only lost one match my entire career because I only wrestled one match my entire career. And he broke all the fingers on my left hand, and he went on to become a national champion bull rider. And it was the nicest thing he's ever done for me. But my stuff was always like theater and performance. And going to Los Angeles and becoming a producer, I learned two things. I learned how to scrap things together on my own. So that means you don't have to wait for permission to do it. I don't have to go to a publisher or an agent to see if my idea is valid. But importantly, speaking to your point, I learned how to create something that isn't sourced from me completely. Like these illustrations are completely different than the illustrations in Super Ultra, which are completely different than the illustrations in Porter, because that's what their talent is. And I get to soundboard off their talent. So I spark an idea. And I think that, yeah, to be creative, really, you just need permission and a goal, and it all puts itself together
Yeah,
there.
something to aim for.
Yeah, because creativity doesn't thrive in open everything. That's a huge misconception about creativity. That given infinite options and infinite time, creativity is not its strongest. Creativity thrives when you have intuition and I think rituals, a ritualistic structure that tells you where you're going and lets you feel the steps on the way there and feel some time pressure and know what your tools are in the toolbox. That's where creativity thrives.
I love that. I've never actually thought about it that way, but I think that is very true because if I have too many options on things, I get very overwhelmed and I shut down.
Yeah.
But if it's more refined and I know the direction and I have some different things to put into it, then, oh, okay, now I can run with it.
Yeah.
That's it. I like that. Wow. Okay. So you have that coming out. You are
Yep.
teaching classes, you said at
USC. Yep. I
okay.
finished up the classes and they've been 12 years of teaching there, and that's in independent film producing. So
And do
that's
you do
fun.
that? You do that primarily online, distance learning?
No, I travel there. It'll do a combination of Zoom and going. So I'd be out to LA every week for a minute. During COVID, it was a heck of a lot easier because I could be
Yeah.
posted up in my place in Deadwood and go for it.
Yeah.
Quite a challenge. Quite a challenge. It's quite a challenge, but it's fun. And keynote speaking has somehow become this whole side thing. So that's what I'm doing today is working on my keynote, which is about intuition, turns out. As
Even better yet.
yeah, which honestly, not to go too keynotey, I believe intuition is the heart of purpose. That's where it starts. Yeah, and you got to figure out how to uncover it and how to listen to it. And so that's what this whole thing is about. Is like I have a system that I use to tap my intuition. So hopefully
I
other
love
people
that.
can use it too.
Maybe I need to have you on the show again to share a little bit about the intuition and how that works and how for
We'll
people to
see.
dig in. Because
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think
after this, I don't think you'll ever bring me back, but that's fine.
I'm thinking we should just keep on talking and keep on
Yeah, we've blown through your 25 minutes.
But I do think a lot of people don't realize that their purpose is just innate in them
Yeah,
and they've shut it off, or life experiences happen and they allow all these different people, oh, you aren't good at that, you're not creative at that, or oh man, I failed at it once, and we look at a failure as I'm not meant to do it, and we shut down, or and so we let all these outside things come at us and derail us from our purpose
yeah,
versus the purpose that we were born with. Like, I truly believe that every person is born with a purpose, And it's so powerful in each of us, and it's beyond all of our expectations. Like we can't even fathom just how big our purpose is. I think if we knew how big it was, we'd be so overwhelmed that, again, it goes back to, we have so many options, we'd freeze. But it's uncovering little bits of it here and there, being intentional with it, leaning into it, being okay with being uncomfortable in it. And my goal is to help everybody to recognize that they have a purpose so that they can walk it out. Because how different would our world be if we all lived with in our purpose?
Yeah.
It would be powerful, but most of us don't. Like I talk a lot about how I was floating through life for 30 plus years and just staying busy and saying, I can do this and that. And I'm just busy. I'm a mom and a wife and a small business owner, and I'm on the school board and all this kind of stuff. It was what I thought was my purpose was just busyness. And now I have it very focused and dialed in, and it's way more powerful and impactful. And if we all did that, how life-changing that would be.
It's true. I think, I know we're wrapping up, so no more tangents are going to help, but I think that a major opportunity of AI lives there, because America, maybe the world, but definitely America, we've defined ourselves not by the work we do, but by the amount of work we do. And that time at the desk, that's the thing, details, and that kind of disconnects you. AI is very good at details. So if you direct it toward the goal of opening space, then the thing that fills that space, if you don't fill it with other things that keep you busy, will be things in your purpose. And I think also that, man, at the end of the day, it's all just people. So knowing that whatever your purpose is will involve others and being okay with it, that's, I think, where you really explode it.
It's so funny because that's exactly one of the things that I hit on all the time is we are all meant to impact people. That's why we're here, like on earth, to impact people, to be relationship. Like we are relational. And now sometimes our purpose could involve working in a lab and finding the cure for cancer or whatever, but it still impacts people. Everything still comes back to people. And how can we do it in a positive way? How can we shift somebody and help them to learn their purpose? And like I said, I go back to this book and what you blessed my family with, and my son being able to know that he is special. You keep inspiring people, and
Just showed in the mirror. That's all there is to it.
it's awesome to watch you walk out your purpose, and as you continue to find out more and more what it is and leaning into it. And so I just appreciate your time, Sean. Okay, one last question, because I'm sure everybody's dying to know. Do you think there'll ever be a second Napoleon Dynamite?
Listen, my bank account sure hopes that there will be. But the thing about Napoleon is we made that, it's amazing what you can do when you don't know it's impossible. And we made it in the time of our lives and the people we were, and it's got that authentic weirdo spider webs on his head, cheese that goes up and down between shots on the nachos thing. And we don't want to screw it up. And now going back in and knowing the job and being good at it, we don't want to ruin the authenticity of it.
And that's a good point. I think my husband, I know he had, was it Vote for Pedro hat forever, and yeah, there is a sweet innocence to that movie. And I think that, so then that just means you have to come up with something else just as impactful and powerful.
Yeah, there's this penguin right here. His name's Hector the Collector. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I hope.
It will be. I'm excited for when that comes out. So, Sean, again, thank you so much for your time. You guys, let's wrap this up. I want to thank you all for listening to The Purpose Effect. If today's episode spoke to you, share it with a friend. Subscribe on YouTube or any of the other major platforms. Help us spread this movement of purpose-driven living. And remember, you're called, you're capable, and you're created with intention. Now go and live it.